Hi and welcome again, it's Peter Vaughan here. I'm continuing with the story of the West Memphis 3 murder cases, and what I have behind me here is, as commonly is known as, Damien Echols. Now, Damien was not born Damien Echols, in fact his middle name is Wayne. He was born as Michael Wayne Hutchison. Now he took on this other name here after he became involved in the Catholic Church, or the Catholic religion, and he felt kindly towards a particular priest who was helping sick people, and after he died he took on his name. But apart from that, let's go back to Michael Wayne Hutchison, who the real guy is behind Damien here, before he got into strife with the event of the 3 young boys being killed. Now I'm just going to show you how I put the numbers under each of these names here and see how the numerology is being formed, because a lot of people are showing an interest in how I'm doing this. So under a name here, each letter is assigned a position in the alphabet, and I'll just fill them in. So excuse me here: 4, 9, 3, 8, 1, 5, 3, 5, 1, 7, 5 and 5, 8, 3, 2, 3, 8, 9, 1, 6 and 5. Now where I get these numbers from, each letter in the alphabet is assigned a number. So the letter H, for example, is the, oops, that's better, is, even that looks terrible. Even the letter H, that's better, is assigned the 8th letter in the alphabet, its position. It actually represents 2 sides to a story and the bridge between them. So going from this point to this point, there's a learning experience that people gain in the middle here, and it represents balance. So just giving you an idea of how the letters and the numbers work. But the letter T, for example, now the letter T is the 20th letter in the alphabet, and for ease of addition we just add these two together, and therefore T equals 2. So if H is 8 and T is 2, I've got 8 under H, I've got 8 under H, and under the T I've got a 2. The U is 3 because U is the 21st letter of the alphabet. 21 equals U, U equals 21, which is 3. So looking at that basic little blurb on it, that's how I come up with these numbers. Now the next thing to do is to add these up so we can find out what this guy's character's like. Eventually finding out how he in fact was at the time that these 3 boys, that's Chris Byers, Michael Moore and Stevie Branch, went missing before they were found dead the next day. That was on the 5th of May in 1993. On the 6th of May they were discovered midday toward the afternoon, but whatever was going on in between time can be revealed by looking at each character individually. So Damien here, if we look at Michael, we add up the numbers under Michael, comes to 33 or 6. Wayne, 5, 10, 15, and 8's 23, which is 5. 11, 13, 16, 24, 33, 34, 45, which is 9. If we take the vowels in the name, now the vowels are important because they were a late addition to alphabets. And when you start to take these vowels out, they have got a softer or an emotional content. And by taking that emotion and bringing it out of a person's name, we then take these 3 numbers here and add them up. So 6 and 3 is 9, plus 9 is 18, and 1 and 8 equals 9. Under Wayne we've got 5 and 1 is 6, and under Michael we've got the E, A and I, which is 5, 6 and 9 is 15, which reduces to 6. So in every respect we're just adding the numbers up from the names. These numbers up here are the soft side or the heart side or the caring side of the person. 12 and 9 is 21 is 3. And down here we're looking at his full name. 6 plus 5 is 11 and 9 equals 20. Now when you start to look at this particular number here, this one here and this one here are very important when assessing somebody. The 33-6 here under Michael here, this is a strong name. It's one that says I have an authority, I have a sense of strength, but at the same time it has a lot to do with family and caring and love and those sorts of things. So there's a soft side to this young man. On this side over here, the whole name indicates his total personality type. A 2 personality type is a pacifist, a person who is more relaxed, laid back, and somebody certainly is not a vicious, out there going attacker or a killer. It does have its cunning side, but more likely a quiet side in this particular configuration. And when you see, well, I'll call him Michael here, but when you see Damien in the HBO series or the production, which talked about the trial as it was rolling on, you could see in it that he was a passive sort of a guy, and that's what that was dictating to me. It also is a number which relates very strongly to religions of sorts. So you can have people who are, it doesn't matter what religion they belong to, but they have a soft side or an appreciation of something else. And that comes from this number 2 and the 0. 2 means detail and patience, and the 0 means spiritual stuff. And I don't mean spiritual in the sense of guru stuff, just a person who is outside their mind, spatial thinkers, people who think outside the square. So because you can't see it, it's not tangible, I'll call it spiritual for this particular point, but it doesn't relate to that directly. This number also has a lot to do with death and dying, so it's just such a complex array here. Now the day he was born on was the 11th. Interestingly enough, that adds up to 2 like this. So here we have his personality, and up here we have a trait. And a trait here means how he does things, with detail. There was one particular scene on the HBO production where he had his hair cut like a bob style, and he was brushing his hair and looking at his hair. Unbeknownst to most people, he just had his hair cut by somebody before he actually came into the courtroom and was looking at what had happened to his long locks. So he wasn't being, overly gay. He wasn't being obsessive about his hair. He was just like, wow, I've just had my hair cut. Now we look at the whole of his birthday. His birthday, the 11th, the month that he's born in, which is December, that's a 3 number. So we've got 2 here, 3 there, and 3 there. If you add that up, 1 and 9 is 10, plus 7 is 17, and 4 is 21. And 2 plus 1 reduces to 3. So we add these all up together. 6 and 2 is 8. Now, this particular quality here says he's quite a strong-willed and determined person. And when you look at the way in which he was not being bullied on the stand, he would stand up to questioning quite well. He had a good balance in his mind, which is what the 8 represents, it's balance. But you won't move him from the truth. You'll keep him in line. This number here says, I look at the detail. This one here says, I'm quite smart and I look at things solidly. So he's got a very quiet side to him, yet a strength, like a sitting rock, very, very firm and unmoving. And when you look at the person's face as well, what you've got here is you've got a face shape. And if you look at it, it's got almost 2 types of face shape here. You've got this triangular shape here with a little rounded chin. This is called the cerebral. This means that the person's got an intelligent face because he's got a wide forehead and a narrowing chin. And at the same time, the face shape is oval-like. An oval face shape means he's quite a personable person. He gets on well with other people. Likeable, for a want of a better word. So here we have a very clever, likeable person based on his face shape. He's got bushy or the sleepy eyes. This represents by the eyebrows. People have this calmness about them, which reflect in his makeup here. So this name here is what he is. Let's have a look at, I'll take some of this off magically, and we'll look at Damien Echols there, and we'll see what that name represents. Then we can look at what happened to him at the time of the event, and just after, when he was in fact arrested and then incarcerated for the term that he was given, until being released earlier this year in August. Right, what I've got here now, I've put up Damien Wayne Echols' name on the board. We're going to compare his original name with his new name. Now when a person changes their name, they've gone from, look like in deed poll changing, when they've been born with a name, they don't like it for whatever reason, and they change their name through the authorities, what we call deed poll. Now doing so is like putting on an overcoat. If I came in here, for example, and I had a collar on with a black shirt, you might say I looked like a priest. I could come in here with a white smock and a stethoscope hanging around my neck and maybe a pen and a watch on my shirt here. You might say a doctor or a nurse of some sort. So the appearance a person has is the name they have. And the name Damien Wayne Echols that he took on has a lot of interesting qualities, because in some respects it matches him in a way where his pacifist nature has taken on another form over here of also being passive in many ways. The name Damien comes to group 1. Now the number for 1 means I'm an individual. It says I'm a sensitive individual. So although Damien says I'm an individual and I have leadership qualities, that's what this name represents very briefly. There's a lot more to it than that. The Wayne and the Echols here gives us a total of 5, reducing down and just adding across. Now this 5 here represents a person. He's a good people person. He enjoys the company of other people, which relates back to his oval face shape that I had before here, which is what he's got up here. And this is the number that is most commonly associated with people in sales, teachers, those who have to work with other people. Now, if I just take Damien Echols, the outside 2 numbers, 1 plus 8 equals 9 here, this is now coming back to the humanitarian, the care person. He who likes to help others with support by giving their time, just being a gentle person. Gentle over here, calm and quiet. Gentle over here, and a people person. Where's the violence here? Up the top here, as I did with the numbers at the top of his name, his original birth name, and across here the vowels have been extracted and I look at them differently. The vowels represent the person's passions or what they like to do. This is who I am, this is how I like to do it. And again, this group 5 has come up and says, I like to be with people, I enjoy the company of others. And up here this 8 says, not only do I like the company of others, I actually enjoy intelligent people. Because the word brain, 29195, so we add them up, 2 and 9 is 11, 12, 21 and 5 equals 26. 2 and 6 equals 8. Now if a person's brain is not balanced, that's when you've got violence and nasty stuff in it. But when this number is found in what we call the passion or the heart, the part that motivates a person through emotions and feelings, this relates to smartness. So we've got a very smart, clever guy up here, a nice person down here who cares about other people, who is very individualistic. But in his birth name, his real traits, a little bit like Michael Jackson. Now, Michael Jackson, when he was with us, he looked or appeared white, his white skin or European look, yet underneath it all, he was still a Negro. You can't take that away from him. So the black African Michael Joseph Jackson, actually from memory, was in fact somebody who had an overcoat or looked different than what he was when he was born. This is what happens when you change your name. So Michael, I like to care for people, and even that relates to Jackson. He liked to care for people, very artistic, very articulated, very well-spoken type person. Down here, in total with the 2, this is who I am. This is the I am factor. It's almost as, this is me, I am gentle, I like people. This number up here says I enjoy, I love, I want. I'll take that word trait out there and says, I'll put a big heart up there. It just means what I like. And this one says, I like to have fun. I'm very creative, very gifted. I like to speak well, I like to write stuff. Just that way inclined. His birthday, which is the number 2 here, I'll just highlight that a bit more. And that one there says, the way I do things, my trait, I'm a bit gentle. The 8 here says, but I'm strong, I'm quite determined. Not in a negative way, not with this combination. If I had a 6 here, or an 8 here, this person could now be someone that I would suspect as a criminal. Not with this combination, it just doesn't fit. I've done over 200,000 case studies over 30 years doing this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. This guy, in my opinion, has nothing to do with what took place for which he was accused of. This man is innocent. He deserves something for what he has not been given and what's been taken away from him and his friends who went in prison at the same time that he did. Welcome back. What I'm doing now, as you've seen, I've changed the board a little. I've got Damien's name now spread out across the board here. The way I've spread it out is according to numerology at advanced levels, although the forensics of this can be cut right down, so you're expanding on a single column, a single area, right down to the months, down to the days, and even the hours. It's not hard to do once you know how, but it takes a bit of practice. Now, at this particular point, from when he was born right through, there are a few things to make mention of, because as we go across here, remembering that his birthday is in December. So any age, these are the age in years, any age that he turned in December or on December the 11th. This makes him, therefore, a person, if he turns 17 now, he was 17 for the most of the next year until he turned 18, or the 17th branded year. So I'm just going to fill in the gaps here to show you what happens between two parts of his makeup. Part A, this part here, is his personality. And his personality is derived from the conditioning that a person has when they're born and the name they're called. When you call a child a name, they adopt the vibration of that name because it's a sound. And the sound therefore sets inside the brain, and the child recognises the feeling based on the sound it's given. Once that sound has been fixed in the brain, try to forget a number, try and forget I'm holding up a pen, you can't. Once it's in the brain, it's in the brain. And as a child is experiencing all this emotion right from the word go, this is where a personality is born, so called because the person seems to take on a blueprint of that vibration, that sound, which is in the brain. So this is his personality area being run out like a series of waves, sound waves, and they spread out over a person's life. Down here, this part here relates to the calendar year. The calendar year, like we are now, it's 2011, and in 2012 the calendar year has moved up one figure. We add the numbers just of the calendar year, and 2011 adds up to 4. So although 2011 is further down the track than this chart has been put up on the board for, I've got an age 19 here. It was his 19th year. He was 18 going 19 when the event took place, and it took place in 1993. 1993, 1993, if you add those numbers up, 1 and 9 is 10, 19, 22. That adds up to 4. 22 equals 4. So there's that 4 there. Now above that, if this is the calendar year, we have Damien's personal start to his life, a different vibration that was measured in the year that he was born on, the day and the month, all tied together. So there's the year, 1974, that adds up to 3. But his birthday, which is always going to be December the 11th, or as I've written on the board here, the 11th of December, we add these two together. 1 and 1 make 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. So his birth date, the day and the month, is always going to be a 5. We always add that to the calendar year to find out where he is. Back when he was 19, in 93, I apologise. If I get 1993 and say it's a full calendar year, I'll add that to this. So 5 plus 4 for the calendar year, CY, is his personal year, PY, when I add that lot together. 4 and 5 is 9. Not quite the personal year there, but this is where it is down here. So this is his PY and CY. What does that mean? It just means that he's riding a wave. And depending on whether the wave's going downhill, uphill, it's in a difficult spot. We now measure this with this row above it. What is the row above it? It is when you take the letters of his name and sum them up in columns. And I've done that. Just to give you an example of one column, let's look at his 19th year. He was in fact 18, remember, turning 19 in December. H has a value of 8. E has the value of 5. H has the value of 8. If you add those together, 8 plus 8 is 16 and 5 is 21. 2 plus 1 is 3. Now one thing to notice here is there's a common series of numbers through here that he was in a harmonic or a vibration of for several years in a row. Does that mean anything? To some degree it does, but in another way it doesn't. It means he's been having a spot of bother prior to his age bracket in 1993. To that, these threes here relate to emotion. They're an emotional number. And with these H's here, I discovered that in the research I've done with Michael or Damien, he in fact had several suicide attempts in his, for the last 3 years leading up to 1993. So I have found over the years in researching that the number 8 has a lot to do with suicide. H equals 8. Look at them. So he was in fact running through a whole pile of codes there, which started after he turned 16, going into his 17th year. So 17, 18, 19, those are 3 years leading up to the time of the event in 1993. Let's go back a wee bit here. When Michael was around about age 5 or in his 5th year, in other words going 6, I'll just grab his chart here so I can look at this to be more accurate. Here is his chart anyway. I'll just sort of bring it up so you can see it quite clearly. I've got scratchings and scribblings all over it because this is what I read from. But I've got here his mother divorced when he was in fact, 8 going 9. I'll take that off. In that area. Now if we look at this particular group down here, and down here, oops. What I'd like you to notice is this series of numbers relates to a person's environment, what's happening around them. It's the floor you're standing on, it's the world you're living in. And this is the name harmonic which is being spread out. Now I don't expect you to understand this right from what I'm doing here on the board, but do have a look at a couple of patterns here. Have you ever heard of things being at 6s and 7s? Every dog has his day. What goes around comes around. Cause and effect, yin and yang. Well, there's an old saying, it's called 6s and 7s. Now if you add 6 plus 7 together, you get 13. Who hasn't heard of 13? Is it a bad number? Not really. Is it a good number? Not really. It's just one that says, hey, be careful, I can bite you or I can cause a lot of fun. Look at this time frame here. In his 7 going 8th year, 6 and 7, there's 113 there. And this is a time when his mother was separating or getting divorced from his father. I'll move over. In his 9 going 10th year, he's come to the end of a personal cycle. You can see they run in 9-year lots. Start again and again. Each of these 9-year cycles has a beginning and an ending. The ending one is the one that brings a lot of grief to a person. So something happened here when he was 9 going 10. I say 9 going 10 because again he was late in the year for his birthday. But he has picked up some difficult letters. Unfortunately, the letter U is like a trap and it brings things into his life. And at that stage he was going through a fair bit of troubles, and around about the age of 15 going 16, this is where he started to have real problems at home with his mother. And the moment he got to that particular age here, he was in a transition going to this 3 area. Here he was soul searching. Here he was trying to find out what he was doing in life. And as I've mentioned with his numbers before, we added up his name. Here his name totaled to the number 2, if you recall. And the number 2 through here is a passive number. Was that such a bad thing? Well, the challenge with numbers, I'll say problem, but it is a problem at times. if you're a person who likes sugar in your coffee or your tea, and somebody puts a whole lot more sugar in, it becomes too sweet to handle. It's not very nice. When you have a bunch of 2s here, added to a 2 here, and the 2 of his birthday, these particular 2s are like adding the pile of sugar. It made this very hard to handle. And the combination of the letters we have here, which come to the number 11, and there's 3 of them there, 11, 11, 11, what you've got is a person who's going through a lot of emotional depression. This is when he was in fact having some great difficulties, and around about here to here, prior to the 1993 event, he was suicidal and had several attempts, as I understand it, in taking his life. It shows up here. When we got to this 19th year that he was in, was 18 but in his 19th year, when this took place, he was at the end of another cycle. 1993 there was an end of another cycle, that one there. End of the cycle is when something comes to a completion. It's emotional, it's a very, very sensitive time, and a person often suffers grief. Well, hello, he sure did. He was in fact accused of something that he hadn't done. And I'm saying he hadn't done it, he doesn't have the makeup for it. He doesn't have that kind of grisliness in his makeup. Because this guy had long locks, anyone who has long hair is sometimes considered by an older generation as being a person who is a wee bit weird. Well, for most Christians, of which the society was, or the township that he came from, or was in at that time, most of them were Christians. Now the word Christians and Jesus all add up to this number 11. Jesus had long hair. Now I'm not turning this into a Christian or a religious type aspect. I'm looking at a guy who had the qualities of a man who had pacifism, not nastiness in his makeup. Now at this particular point I would like to finish this off because the event, although shows emotion, there is nothing in here which indicates at all that he did anything nasty. And I'm going to bring it up. If I wanted to see something nasty here that was killer type mode, I would see a 9 up here. I might even see a 4 up here, because a 4 and 9 is 13, and that would indicate something very, very strong happening. If I could see a 2 up here, oops, I'll call it a 2, so a 2 there. Oh no, it's getting messy, but when you add that 9 to 2, you get the number 11. And the number 11 relates to death. How? 4, 5, 1, 2 and 8. 8 and 2 is 10, 11, 16, 20. 11 equals 2 and death equals 2. If I add death up correctly, and I'm going to do that for you over here, you're going to see it actually adds up to 11. In fact, I might even do it, yes, all right. D is 4. E is 5. A is 1. But T is not 2. T is 20. It's the 20th letter. T, 20. And H is 8. Now let's add them up. 8 plus 20 is 28. And 1 is 29. And 5 is 34. And 4 is 38. Equals 38. 3 plus 8 equals 11, which equals 2. There's your 11. If that was a 2, 9 and 2 would be 11. So there's nothing here that I see at all that indicates that this victim was a victim of the system, the justice system. I'm going to go through and do the other lads. That's Jason Baldwin and Jesse Miss Kelly. They too were shown up as being victims of this incident. And Chris, Michael and Stevie, who were killed at, I think it was in the morning of the 6th, so very late at night, but in the morning, that's when other people show up as being, as you'll see, these codes I've just been talking about. So for now, thanks for watching. I'll try and get these series done as I can through my busy lifestyle at the moment, but do check out the Vaughan code and have a look at www.numerology.net.nz and have a go with the Vaughan code. I've got a really neat little gallery in there. And Peter Vaughan, signing out till next time. Thanks for watching.